Okay, the word vision is used in religious sphere to mean that elsewhere is called an apparition. The recipient of an apparition has the experience of seeing something which is not present in the same way an ordinary physical objects are. Sir Francis Galton, in his researches into human faculties, encountered a perfect example of an apparition. A lady, novelist assured him that once she saw come through the door and glide towards her was a vision. And as the character was fictional, there was no possibility that the apparition corresponded to any external cause. The experience thus originated within the lady's mind and can be described as indigent. Apparitions are sometimes loosely called hallucinations, bearing the implications that they are endogenic. This is because apparitions commonly result from drugs, fever, exhaustion, or mental illness. The present writer refers to reserve the term hallucination for endogenic hallucinations and to use the word apparition for vision. Are there, in fact, any apparitions which are exogenic from an external cause? Religious visions are difficult to interpret, but physical research provides good evidence of exogenic apparitions. Apparitions caused from outside sources. I guess those would be the good ones. Occasionally, at a time of death or crisis, the likeness of the person concerned appears in recognizable form to a friend or a relative, perhaps on the other side of the world. The apparitions are sometimes clearly unreal, being transparent or appearing in a pool of light or in a picture frame, but quite often they are natural enough to be mistaken for the actual person. Theories differ as to how these crisis apparitions come about. Some writers claim that the person whose apparition is seen has been astral body and which is a duplicate of his physical body and is projected to the vicinity of the recipient. I prefer an explanation by telepathy. A violent thought wave impinges on some level of the person's mind and is transmitted into a person. About 1899, the Society for Physical Research carried out a census of apparitions and obtained 17,000 replies to their questionnaire. It appeared that about one person in 16 sees an apparition about once in the course of a lifetime. About a third of all apparitions are of animals, lights, indefinite or inanimate objects, but the remaining two-thirds are realistically human figures. More than half of these human apparitions are of persons living or dead and known to the recipient. It is found also that about in 30 of all apparitions are a religious, exalted, or highly poetic nature. In mentally normal persons, only a small portion of apparitions are grotesque or horrible. Even if the apparition is not frightening in itself, it may puzzle the recipient to often fears that his reason is failing. They think they're going crazy, but this alarm is unnecessary because the statistics quoted refer mainly to people in normal physical and mental health. A large proportion of the apparitions are hypnagogic hallucinations and occur in the borderline between sleep and being awake, being very akin to dreams. Like dreams, these apparitions are mainly endogenic. All endogenic hallucinations are likely to have features in common with dreams. These contain revived memories but in new combinations. If the Jungian and Freudian philosophies are true, hallucinations also contain symbolic representations of unconscious urges, aspirations, or anxieties. This is true for normal people and especially true for the hallucinations of the insane. So yeah, some of it is insanity too. Modern brain surgery has given some insight into the cause of some hallucinations. If the normal functioning of a part of the brain concerned is ocular precipitation is prevented, the person may have modern brain surgery has given some insight into the causes of some hallucinations. If the normal functioning of a part of the brain concern in ocular perception is prevented, the person may have compulsory hallucinations. Thus, a patient with a tumor in the right temporal lobe had consequently no normal vision of things on the left. But in the darkness, he saw a non existent man to his left sitting at a non existent fireside. Visions of this sort consist of reactivated memories. Men blind from birth have no visual hallucinations, although they can have auditory ones. Occasionally, sane and intelligent persons have spontaneous electrical discharges in the brain, besides producing involuntary movements of the limbs. Okay, so a person who has been having hallucinations because he had head injury can have stress memories. But if they've been blind since life, they won't have them. They would have ones with hearing instead. So it's always something you already seen before. Emotion certainly is productive to visions. Carl Jung speaks of a spontaneous vision experienced as a child while in a choking fit. He saw above him a glowing blue circle about the size of the full moon. Within there moved golden fingers, which he took to be angels. Once, when his own father, a sea captain, was trying to extricate his vessel from a whirlpool and debating whether to change course, my mother's apparition appeared before him on the ship bridge and told him with emphasis, "You will get out if you change course," as in fact he did. Many hallucinations are extremely vivid and lifelike. So that is with some crisis apparitions, the percipient may think he is actually seeing in the ordinary way. But with many visions, particularly in the religious sphere, it is hard to decide from the visionary's words exactly what sense the vision was seen. Roman Catholic theorists such as St. Thomas Aquinas recognized three types of vision: the intellectual vision, the imaginative vision, and the corporeal vision. The theory of the corporeal vision was akin to the modern astral body explanation of Christ's apparition. If one had a vision of Jesus, it might be a corporal vision. Some was actually seeing either the resurrection body of Christ or alternately a kind of uh, Let me see something. One was actually seeing either the resurrection body of Christ or alternately a kind of wraith fashioned by the angels, the handyman of heaven. On the other hand, it might be the recipient received only an imaginative vision, a purely mental image, though a vivid one and introduced by the action of God. St. Thomas, of course, like all perpetual theologians, reserved the possibility of a vision being an endogenic hallucination, not divine. Is this real or not? And the intellectual vision of the theologians corresponds to ordinary mental imagery. If a duck, he will form a mental image. He will see if it's in the mind's eye. This mental picture will be somewhat generalized and lacking in details. As he discovers if he tries to draw it, an artist will do better because by nature and training, he has a capacity for more vivid mental imagery. The lack of sharp detail in the average mental image is shown by the effort which a hypnotist has to make when establishing a hallucination in a person under hypnosis. The hypnotist has to suggest in a persuasive manner the characteristics of the figure that he wishes the hypnotized person to see, and to catalog the hat, the hairstyle, the blue eyes, the jewelry, and so on. Some people, however, have a remarkable power of mental visualization, so that what they see in the mind's eye can be as vivid as things actually seen. Such exceptionally clear imagery is described as eidetic and is sometimes aided by looking at a palm or dark background. When Guth shot his eyes and thought of a rose, he could clearly see a rosette. I have to take a break.